I think we need to talk, trainer. So, we have some thugs hanging out around. I'm sure you guys have noticed that. Definitely been coming after people. By this point, you guys probably guessed to talk about Team Go Rocket. So, I want to make sure you guys are well prepared. I know I've had my fair share of fumbles with them, but now they're kind of just a pest, but it's a lot of good things you can get from them. Shadow Pokemon are some of the strongest Pokemon you're going to go and be able to use. They're a little squishier, but that comes with the territory of Shadow. So, I want to go and give you guys a little bit of a rundown on what you guys need to do to when you guys are going to be battling these guys, and basically just kind of quick little walkthrough on how to handle them. So, first things first, Team Go Rockets, you're going to see a little shaky Pokestop, or you'll see an air balloon. So you'll see the big red R. These can also be leaders if you have the leader radar on, or if you have Giovanni's, it's the Go Rocket leader, like it's a black radar. If you got that item equipped, same thing, he can come and track you down as well through these things. But these are also going to allow you to go and track these guys down. So if you have a radar, you can track the leaders down. If you have the Super Rocket radar, you can track Giovanni or a decoy down. And they'll always be at a Pokestop, or they're going to be in a balloon. So those are the big things just to notate. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of them flying around. Or just kind of hanging around, right? You can also find them in raids. But when it comes to rockets, they're always going to pretty much tell you, if they're a grunt especially, that's all they're going to do is just tell you what their lineup is. It's always really straightforward. So, for an example, normal does not mean weak, right? You can probably tell right there on what type that grunt is going to be using. The grunt's going to be using normal type. And this is going to run through pretty much every single one of the types. Some types aren't going to be as good against their counter as others, like normal type or ghost type can be. But just going to keep these things in mind. And they're going to shuffle up every so often as well, so will the leaders when it comes to their team as well. When it comes to the grunts, though, they're not going to use a shield. You have access to the shields. This is just set up just like a trainer battle because, well, you're battling a trainer. So, just make sure you're utilizing shields if you need them. These Shadow Pokemon are going to be extremely high on the CP. Doesn't really mean they're going to be doing a whole lot of damage to you per se. Just be very, very careful with it. After that, you're going to want to make sure to just basically just take them out as quickly as possible. Come in with PvP setup rather than raid setup. You're going to be a lot more effective. So being a lot more spammy, things like this. They have about a 2-turn delay. So give or take, that's about 1 second delay, 1.5 seconds or so. Roughly the delay they're going to have every single time. So when they first start, they're going to come out swinging. Anytime you attack with your charge move, or they use a charge move, it's going to be about 2 turns roughly. So that's going to be about 1 second where they don't tax at all. So you've got a little extra time to go and farm up, and this is going to be the time you're going to want to do that. It just makes it so that way you can just basically just fly through them, and you can actually save your Pokemon little hit points on that as well. But also be aware that the leaders, they will use the shield. This includes Giovanni. They will use shield every single time you use a charge move. All right, so now that we're past the battle and stuff, now you're going to want to go and catch the Pokemon they leave. Now, it's going to be different with every single one. So the leaders will always leave their first Pokemon. That's going to be Arlo, Sierra, or Cliff. They're always going to leave their very first Pokemon that they bring out. When it comes to Giovanni, it's always the last Pokemon. And it's always going to be a legendary. The grunts are going to leave, sometimes it'll be their first Pokemon, more often than not. Most of them, that's what they're going to do. Some can leave, either the first or second Pokemon they've used. There's like 1 or 2 of them that they can leave either the first, second, or third Pokemon they used. So just be aware who you're battling. With the grunts, it doesn't matter as much typically, but they do have a lot of meta-relevant Pokemon, so make sure you guys are focusing on these rockets when you guys get a chance. They also give you 500 Stardust every time you win. From a grunt, I believe it's 1,000 Stardust, and I think it's either 1,500 or 2,000 Stardust every time you beat Giovanni. Either way, you're getting Stardust, you're getting XP. These guys are worth taking on. Just be aware you will need potions. Any kind of damage that your Pokemon are dealt, they are going to have to heal from it. So any kind of Pokemon that are knocked out, same thing. you're going to have to revive them, whether that be through items or using a power-up, just power up their CP. That'll bring them back as well. So you got a few different options. But when you are catching these Pokemon, they are a little more erratic. They're more likely to attack, and they bounce around a lot. So just be aware, there's a couple things you can do here. You can either use your Nanabs, which is going to be a little bit easier when it comes to making it so they're not moving as much. May not make it easier to catch, really, but there's also the other way of just basically just time out their attacks, figure out how long their attack animation is, and then throw at specific times. Sometimes they attack, and then literally right after the attack, they're attacking again. All right, but speaking of which, we have a rocket we're going to go and take on that's actually right here. All right, and as an added bonus, after you guys got to witness a rocket battle here, real easy, right? It doesn't take a whole lot really going into that. But a little added bonus here, we briefly need to discuss this. There's also Shadow Raids. I mentioned them before in the Go Raiders video, and Shadow Raids are a little bit different because you guys get to see those Shadow Shards, right? Well, those Shadow Shards, after you get so many, they become purified gems. It's 10 Shadow Shards you need for 1 gem, and to subdue an enraged Shadow Pokemon, which they'll let you know they're enraged, they'll start spamming their charge moves. They're going to start hitting hard. It'll even say this Pokemon's now enraged, especially when it comes to Shadow Legendaries. So like, for instance, right now we have Shadow Raikou. Shadow Raikou hits hard, especially if it's got things like Shadow Ball. Everything you're bringing to go and counter a Shadow Raikou is going to be ground type typically, so now you've got Shadow Ball hitting with neutral damage. This thing hits hard, it's got a high attack. Top of that, it's doing more damage because it's enraged, and it's more spamming. So make sure that when you guys are taking these Shadow Pokemon on, you come with purified gems. I believe Giovanni will actually give you, I believe it's enough to make 1 purified gem. I believe it gives you 10 shards, while the leaders, I believe they each give you about 5. So you get yourselves your purified gems that way. Definitely worth it just to go and spam them out. Make sure you've got those. And yeah, just go out there, get with your friends, and beat up on these Shadow Pokemon. They're going to be extremely annoying, extremely powerful, but extremely viable. So for those looking to basically get some really, really strong Pokemon, that's the way to do it. Not to mention, some of these Pokemon are even better off when they've got the move Return, which comes through purification, which you guys will also be able to do with your Shadow Pokemon. they lose that 20% gain, but they get the nuke known as return. It's a normal type move. It's a lot easier to get to than Hyper Beam. So most of the Pokemon that can get to it, if they've got access to Hyper Beam and that happens to be one of the moves they need, just switch it out for return. But they also go up to level 25 when you purify them. So if you're looking for a specific league, for instance, Great League Pokemon, it can almost sometimes push them out of it if it doesn't push them out. So be very careful of that. Some Pokemon, that's all they are, is a Great League Pokemon. So could it be worth it? Absolutely. But there's times you really want the 20% more damage. But all right. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back with another video coming up real soon. We'll see you guys then.